Candidly Chaotic. Welcome back to my channel where I share about homeschooling, mom life, and family adventures. Today I'm going to share a little bit about teaching my son how to read so far and how that's going. As a look at and a review of All About Reading, which is the program we're using. So I was so very, very nervous about teaching my son how to read. It's such an important thing. It's, really the building block for learning, in my opinion, because being able to read can unlock so many other avenues of learning for you. So I was so nervous. It felt like such a big thing, and I kind of didn't really know where to start. And so, and then also, I had gotten the All About Reading program at the end of my son's preschool year this last spring, because we got done with the one we were doing early. And he was doing really well, and I wanted to continue to build, and I didn't want to just stop and have him forget a bunch of things. And so I got All About Reading, and we tried it, and it felt like maybe it was a little too much for him at the time. He still had some B and D and P and Q confusion type things, and a couple letters that every once in a while he said the wrong sound for. And so we just stopped and really focused in on sounds. I did have some books for him to continue to try to read because he was already trying to sound things out. And so we did continue to practice that. Not every day and not in a very structured way. So this summer was a lot of Explode the Code, a couple of him reading, and a lot of us just going over his letters. And so then when it came time for kindergarten, we did start our kindergarten year a couple weeks before we officially started all of our curriculum. And so during that time he was doing Explode the Code and a little bit of math. And while he was doing that, I was really getting nervous that that All About Reading would still be too much for him. And I really reading, you want reading to be fun, you want your kid to love reading. I've read so many things about how you don't want to push them, you don't want to scare them away from reading, all these things. So I was feeling like, oh, this is so much pressure. Well, I don't know. Once I got started in our actual kindergarten year, which was, I think we're almost at a month now. We have a couple more days and we'll be at our month mark for our official kindergarten curriculum. And so once we started that, it was only I think it was 3 or 4 days in, I realized, one, my son is more ready now. I can definitely tell a difference. Two, something about doing the program every day and how we progress in it. I have seen him already progressing on and learning and not drowning in these new concepts. And so I think it's a combination of timing, as well as how we're doing the program and how we're reading every day. And even on the weekends, I'm trying to get him to sit down, and we read to my kids pretty often. It's a pretty regular thing for us. But to have my son read, even on the weekends, even when it's not a school day, just as his practice, being very intentional about all that has really started to make it click, and he's really learning. I also think, so I was nervous, and now I actually find that I love teaching my kid how to read. It feels like, he gets really frustrated when we start new things because he wants to know it right away. He doesn't want to have to practice and struggle through anything. But we really talked about that, and I've talked him through that, and we just keep kind of going gently, and then it'll start to get easier, and then the next day he'll do it right away and have no issues, and I get to say, oh my goodness, see, I told you you'd get there at some point. And so having those victories with my son are so much fun. Last night my son was reading to my husband, and I walked into the room, and there were 5 or 6 words in a sentence, and he read 4 of them without even having to sound them out, which is his goal. He wants to be able to read like mommy and daddy read, which is without sounding them out, with just seeing the word and knowing it. And so having him starting to meet that goal in some instances is so exciting. So we were all celebrating that that is something that he was able to do in that sentence. And it was awesome because I got to go from the beginning to, you know, that next goal with him, all of it with him. And so I really appreciate that. I also love teaching him. I love teaching my kids. I mean, I'm a homeschool mom, and so like, hopefully if you are a homeschool parent, you like teaching your kid. If not, it's probably really hard. But I love teaching my kid, but I feel like reading is probably just one of the ones that at this time is really showing, like we're really seeing the fruit of it as we go on. And so I think teaching him to read has really shown me, I already knew that he does not like to not know things right away. And that kind of shuts him down. But reading has helped me learn what kind of opens him back up to it. What kinds of things can I do and say, and how do I handle it, that then he's willing to keep trying. And so I think reading is the place that I've really started to learn how he ticks in that and how to keep him going. And so that has been really exciting because that's going to be useful, you know, as we go in all subjects. And then also, because I'm his teacher, I know intimately how we are teaching him, how the program works. I know how to help him and when to not help him. And so when he's practicing, that's just really helpful for me to know how to continue on. And so I just have loved teaching him how to read so far. I think a big part of that is the program is the right program for me as the teacher and for him as the student, both. And so All About Reading, I just thought I would take a little bit of time to kind of give, like, I guess a quarter review of All About Reading. We're on level 1. If you are interested in me doing like maybe a flip through of it, or even a flip through and kind of like show you one of our lessons, like as we're doing it, just let me know, because I would love to help you out with that, just so you can see how it looks. But for this, I'll just give a little bit of an overview and a review. So All About Reading is, the reason why it is perfect for me as a teacher is the lesson plans. Everything is spelled out for me. There is no guessing for me, and it tells you what to do and why, which I really appreciate. And so every lesson has, you know, what you're going to be doing. It kind of gives you a chance to figure out like how you should be handling things and how you should be saying things. And then it just has really detailed lesson plans and exactly step-by-step what to do. And I love that. So for instance, we have a box that has our phonogram cards as well as our reading cards in it. And every day at the beginning of reading, we take them out. There's a review tab and a mastered tab for both of them. And for the ones that we're still reviewing, we go over them until he masters them, and then I put them in the mastered pile. And so he does have he has a lot of phonograms in the mastered pile, and he has a couple words in the mastered pile. When I put him in the mastered pile, I thought, are we never going to go over these again? I don't know. That makes me a little nervous. A couple lessons later, it said this would be a good time to get out the mastered pile and just go over them and review them to make sure your child still remembers them. So when I say that every detail is taken care of, I mean it. I don't have to remember that stuff. Every detail is taken care of, even just like reviewing things that you've mastered. There's also a the child's workbook that has a bunch of different activities that we do, and warm-up sheets for reading before you get to the story. And yeah, so a lot of different things like that, as well as there's 3 storybooks they're really nice storybooks. They have colorful pictures, and a lot of the pictures make my son giggle, so that's a lot of fun. But they're not boring. They're fun. Like here's a pig that's biting a cat, that kind of thing. So just silly things that make my son enjoy the story. And then it does also come with these phonogram tiles. There's a bunch of them. These are like ones that we don't need yet. I actually have I have the whole alphabet out on a magnetic whiteboard, and so we use those and manipulate them to make words and sound them out. And so there's a lot of different things that you can do. There's also a couple of different appendix sections that have different games and activities that you can do, and most of them, some of them are a little bit like I probably won't do because it's a lot of setup, but a lot of them are not a lot of setup, and I really like that. And you don't have to have a bunch of different like things on hand. They're just stuff that you can do with your kid, and so I really like those activities too. I like making it fun, and it's all easy for me. Now, when I was going through, there are 53 lessons in this book. And when I went through at the beginning of the year, I like divided all my, curriculum's lessons by how many days we're doing. And so I could figure out whereabout we need to be when we're halfway through the school year. And when I did that with this one, for some reason, I didn't think, oh, we have 180 days in the school year, which we had already done like 19 of our days before our curriculum officially started. And so we actually were down to like, 161 days. So anyways, I didn't really think about, oh, we have 160 more days to go. This curriculum is 53 lessons. That means, we don't need to do a lesson a day. That means that we need to do, actually it would almost be, I guess it would almost equal out to like a lesson every, I don't know. I haven't done the math on that, but it would be, you wouldn't even have to do a lesson every 2 days. Like you could break up the lesson more. I don't know why I didn't really think about that. And so the other day I was going through and I was just curious, we're going to hit a quarter, like we're going to be at our first quarter mark in a little less than a month. And so I was just curious, are we on track with our lessons on where we need to be? And for this book, we definitely are, because we are getting ready to start lesson 13, and we actually don't even need to have 13 all the way done by the quarter mark. And so I wish I would have thought that through a little bit more at the beginning, because I probably would have done a couple things differently. I'm going to do them differently now, but I would have done a couple things differently at the beginning. And I think there's a point in the lessons where you actually start reading 2 stories in each lesson. And when that started, I would have actually split that into 2 days and then did more review both days. And so that is what we're going to start doing. And before we start doing that though, we are going to, I think we're going to take the rest of the week, which we have, we have 2 more school days this week. And we might even take a little bit of next week to go back and review a lot of stuff that we've already done. Because my son is really, he's getting very efficient at decoding his words, and some of the words he can recognize, but he still like sounds them out, even though he kind of has an idea because he wants to make sure. And so I want to get to the point where he has more fluency of, he can see a word and recognize it and go on. That way his comprehension can get a little bit easier. And so we're going to go back and we're going to review we're going to spend a lot of time playing review games. We'll review some of the old worksheets that we've done. We'll go through and read some of the stories we've already read so he gets more practice. And hopefully that will help him build that. And we'll then move forward now that I know that he does not need to do a lesson every day. So that is where we are at with reading and the All About Reading program. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Like I said, if you are interested in, having me do like a flip through and an in-depth look of it, or even like a lesson so you can see how we do it, I would just let me know. I would love to do that for you. So you can give me a like, a thumbs up, or you can comment. I hope you have a great day.